Hey, I'm Matt, music maker, musician, and generally self-confessed music tech nerd. In this Journeys and Sound series, we take a look at important tracks, and in particular the sounds and samples that define them. In this episode, we're going to shine the sonic laser beam on 2001 Space Odyssey Discovery by Daft Punk. Let's get to it. Discovery was released in 1996 after the French duo's masterpiece Homework, one of my favourite albums. Whereas Homework was rough and raw, Discovery was more harmonically refined through its catchy vocal lines and epic synth-esque guitar solos. That said, the accessible chord progressions would ensure its place in music history. The band's Thomas Bangalter commented that Discovery is an album based on that sense of 80s childhood innocence. So the album was recorded over 2 years at Bangalter's home studio in Paris. In this album, there's still a ton of sampling of 70s and 80s classic records. There's a ton of gear here. Akai samplers, EMU SP1200, Lindrum, Oberheim DMX. And for the vocal lines, the Roland SVC 350, a Digitech pedal, and also an early version of Autotune, Mutron, Muga Fuga, an Ensoniq DP4, and something else, AMS Phaser. So this album is packed with pioneering tracks, but for this episode, we're going to focus on just one. Digital Love is the album's third track, and it's a pretty upbeat electronic pop love song. It's a light harmonic relief after the pounding repetition of One More Time and the endless guitar solo of Aerodynamic. Overall, the structure here is classic 80s through and through. Intro, verse, chorus, middle section, epic endless guitar solo, and then outro. And musically, it's also pretty straightforward. It's just got 4 chords. However, that last chord remains unresolved, which really helps keep a sense of tension throughout the whole track. Also, before we dig into the track, a quick note on that guitar solo. It's not a real guitar. However, it may have been played by one. We'll come back to that later. Right, back to that chord progression. And where did it come from? I Love You More is a track from the 1979 album Master of the Game by George Duke, an American keyboardist, composer, singer-songwriter, and record producer from the 70s. Duke has worked with numerous artists, including Frank Zappa. Overall, Duke has over 30 solo albums to his name, of which A Brazilian Love Affair from 1979 is a particular highlight. Talking of albums, Frank Zappa's got like over 60 albums. Daft Punk? 4. Come on, robots, get a move on. So Master of the Game was recorded at the legendary Westlake Recording Studios in Los Angeles. Gear-wise, there's a Fender Rhodes, Yamaha acoustic piano, Wurlitzer, Hohner clavinet, ARP Odyssey, ARP string ensemble, Mini Moog, Oberheim synthesizer, Sequential Circuits Prophet 5, and a Krumar synthesizer. So I really want a photograph of this session. I couldn't find one. If you find one, please send it to me. I would love to see all of that gear in that recording session. Anyway, back to that track and the sample. Let's listen to what I've remade. So here that is. And the original. Okay, so let's take a closer look at what's going on here. We've got some drums. Got some bass. We've got some guitars. We've got some Rhodes. And some synths. And a long synth note. And all of that together sounds like this. And here's the original again. In fact, the more I listen to this track, the more it sounds like the track Fragments of Time from Random Access Memories. Back to that guitar solo. it's not played on guitar. Well, it was probably originally played on guitar, but then recorded in via MIDI guitar, resequenced, and it's actually a synth that plays it. But they must have spent quite a bit of time editing that thing. So I've played this track out countless times with the band introducing, but it's been really nice here to spend a bit more time digging into the track in even more detail. In terms of George Duke, I'm now totally cursed with having to go back and listen to his entire back catalogue, but I'm definitely not going back to listen to Frank Zappa's back catalogue. No way. At least with Daft Punk, there's only 4 albums, it's pretty easy to get through. Also, for any of the sounds we recreated, they're all up as a download for you to download, so go and get those now. Right, that's it for today. I wonder what to look at next.